Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Collective Clicks podcast. This is your host, Brandon Bateman, and today I'm joined by Jack Bosch. Jack is known in the real estate investing world as the land flipping guy, and he tells us a lot in this episode about what you can do as someone who flips or wholesales single family homes when you come across land leads, so that you're prepared to make money from those leads as well. We also talk about wealth building in general, and he shares his strategies for that and how he thinks about that a little bit different than the average person or the average investor, which I found pretty fascinating. I will see you there. Jack, welcome to the podcast.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to be here too. I think we've known each other for how many years now? 3 or 4?
Something like that, yes. I think probably right after COVID, and in one of the masterminds that you are and we both are, our path crossed, and then in another one, because you're like, all over the place.
Yeah, we've done a lot of stuff. I'm a member of your mastermind, the Ultimate
Yes.
Boardroom. I invested in one of your multifamily deals in Texas last year, I
Right?
believe.
Yeah.
And we, on top of that, I think do PPC for many of your land coaching students, which is pretty cool. So
And for us.
it's fun. It's fun to be, yeah, and for you. So it's fun to be working with you in a few different ways. So for people who don't know you, tell the brief background. Who are you? Where'd you come from? What do you do?
All right, wonderful. So again, my name is Jack Bosch, and I am an immigrant to the United States. As you can probably tell by my accent, I'm trying to hide it as much as possible, but I will forever sound like Arnold. Just hopefully not as bad as Arnold. Plus, he's from Austria. I'm from Germany. Difference. And no, I came over here to finish my college degree, then met my wife here, who is an immigrant herself from Honduras, Central America. So we got together, we fell in love with the country and with each other, decided to stay here legally, got jobs that sponsored our green cards eventually, and it took 5.5 years to get a green card. And somewhere in between, we realized that this entire employee thing is not for us, that we really want to build a life of freedom, that we want to build a life where we can actually choose when we want to visit our family, because my entire family is in Germany, Michelle's entire family is in Honduras, and if you have 2 weeks vacation, you can't go anywhere. Like you have to choose. For the first few years, we chose like this year's 2 weeks vacation. Do we go visit family in Honduras, or do we go visit family in Germany, or do we visit nobody and get to know the United States? And usually it was one of the family members, so we didn't get to know anything in the United States, and we felt really trapped. To make a long story short, we decided to get into real estate, tried all kinds of stuff, and eventually stumbled into a method where we mastered the way to find people that own land, lots and acreage. And there's 46 million pieces of land, and we mastered in the United States. We mastered the method to find the people that don't want their land anymore, that just don't care about owning it anymore. And there's way more landowners that just are not emotionally attached to the land. They don't care anymore. Then there's house owners, and how to find them, how to get these pieces of land on a contract for literally pennies on the dollar, for 20 to 60 cents on the dollar, and how to turn around and either wholesale them for a quick markup for 10, 20, 30, sometimes even $100,000 in cash profits, or how to go and sell them with seller financing, and then more advanced strategies, how to sometimes take them down, split them, subdivide them, develop them, entitle them, but that's more the advanced stuff. So the cookie cutter model that we have built into thousands of deals, and my wife and I together have done 5,000 deals. Most of them are just simple land wholesaling. Take a $50,000 property, put it on a contract for 10, mark it up to 35, sell it, make 25 grand, do it again, and do it again, and do it again. Or the same kind of deal where it's you take a $50,000 property, put it on a contract for 10, sell it for $50,000 with seller carryback, seller financing, where the buyer gives you $15,000 down. So the down payment is more than what you need to even pay the seller. So you can do it all without using your own money. And you simply allow the buyer to pay the difference, the remaining $35,000 in monthly payments over the next 10, 12, 15 years, and charge interest on top of it. It's free money. It's basically pure profit, and it provides cash flow. And that's a key thing, because any active business stops the moment you stop flipping. But if you build a business that has cash flow, you can stop and the money keeps coming in. And once we built that, we started taking vacations. So now we travel about 3 months of the year. We travel around the world and loving life.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you for the backstory and everything. The average person listening to this probably does more single family houses than land. I want to hear your opinion on the two different routes. Do you think that people should do them at the same time? Do you think land is better than houses? Do you think it depends? And if so, what does it depend on? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I think you might be a little biased, but we'll see.
Of course, I'm going to be 100% biased here, and that is, I totally think land is way simpler than houses. First of all, there's no tenants, toilets, termites. There's no roof repairs, no foundation repairs, no electric repairs, no rehabs, no estimating values. We don't never have to see the properties. Literally, it's like the last time we've done 5,000 deals. The last time I've seen a piece of land that I have bought, that I've wholesaled or sold with seller financing was 2007. So it's 18 years ago that I've seen a piece of land that I have flipped, or we call it flipping, even though there's no fixing involved in the flipping. So it's for the last 18 years I've been running this business from here, or the equivalent of here, like my home office, without ever having to leave it, without ever having to go meet with contractors and things. So first of all, it's way simpler. So I can't give a recommendation you should do either one or the other. If the audience listening to here, if the audience is already experienced house flippers and they have mastered all those different tentacles and all those different things, plates that they have to juggle, and they enjoy it, keep doing it. But I also know that every house flipper, house wholesaler, house rehab, fix and flipper is coming across land leads, and most don't know what to do with them. Most just ignore them because it doesn't fit their buy box. And what I would think is develop a side expertise, flipping those lots, and what you'll find is that it's 10x simpler, and you'll probably make your biggest profits from land over houses. And I see that again every time. The same masterminds that we belong to, I go there and there's not a time I go there and I meet somebody new and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm the weird guy in the room. I'm the land guy. I do land flipping. And they're like, "Oh my God, okay." And I tell them what we do. And they're like, "I got to tell you, my biggest real estate deal that I've ever done was a land deal. If I would get $1 for every time I heard that, I would be having dinner at a very nice, expensive restaurant because I've heard that a million times that most of the house fix and flippers, some of their best deals were accidental land deals that they weren't even looking for."
Yeah, fair enough. So let's just say I'm that guy. And let's just say I mostly wholesale houses, for example, or I flip houses. And yeah, we do come across land deals here and there. What's the step one, step two, step three to not necessarily make it a shiny object or a distraction, but have that tool in the tool belt in order to monetize those leads?
So if you're an existing house flipper, you're most likely going to come across two kinds of land. First one is going to be infill lots because you market for houses in certain zip codes, in certain neighborhoods, and depending on your marketing strategy that you use, it's either very targeted or reasonably targeted or not targeted at all, because if you do television advertising, you might get leads from anywhere. But unless you do television advertising, your leads usually should be coming either from an infill lot, basically street, 35 houses, 1 or 2 empty lots. Those landowners are going to call you and say, "I know you said you want to sell your house, but I have a piece of land down on that road." Those are super easy ones. As a matter of fact, there's more and more of the fix and flippers that, because competition is so high in the house world, that they have crews that they actually started building houses from scratch. They're fix and flippers / builders. So I know one guy up in, I think in Pennsylvania, who has a couple of models, like certain kind of 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, like different kind of cookie cutter models. And he over the last few years has bought 300 or 400 lots and has started basically a construction company in addition to his fix and flip. And they're building these houses and selling them with great profits and keeping some too. That would be a strategy that somebody could do. But that's lot number one. But the easiest way to deal with those lots is, if you're not an actual builder and you don't want to get into ground up construction kind of world, simply pass it on to builders. And if somebody's experienced already, they're probably either already know builders or they know how to find them. But the easiest way is to simply go look up the Home Builders Association in that market and just look up who is a builder in that area, make a few phone calls, and that $100,000 lot that they probably can get for $70K from somebody through their marketing, they can probably sell it day later to a builder in the area for $100,000, make a quick $30,000 without touching the property, without putting a nail into it, without even seeing it. Just simply, "Oh, there's a lead came in. Let me deal with that. Let me just move that over here and make a quick $30,000. That's one thing. The second kind of property they're probably going to come across is properties that are a little bit outside of town in the path of growth, and they're like a few acres in size. Because again, when marketing is not super mega targeted, but a little bit more like include some radio, include some television, you'll definitely get some, without the television, it has further reach. So you automatically get some properties from that. Those kind of properties, you would have to learn our strategy and how to get those, but which I will happy to lay out. There's no secrets here, but we usually sell those to end buyers. But the easiest way to do that is we're always looking to work with fix and flippers that have extra leads, is to just simply pass that lead on to a land guy like us, a land investor like us, and we can process those leads, we can take them, we can sell them. And we usually sell them either through a realtor or through social media or through thing. But the process for that is very much different than what the typical house flipper is used to. And now if they use television advertising where it's really indiscriminate, it goes all over the state, at that point they might also start getting some 40 acres, 80-acre parcels, which in our core strategy is the third kind of property we focus on. We infill lots, path of growth, and those larger acreage. How you sell them is a completely different strategy. Again, the path of growth and the larger acreage are sold the same way in a way. And I'll be happy to go into that in this podcast if you want me to.
Sure. Yeah. I have to say, I'm curious. How do you sell this?
The easiest way, the first thing you got to understand is, and again, that's a difference to the fix and flippers or the wholesalers, is that as a wholesaler, you have your list of 10, 20, or 100 other wholesalers, and you keep selling properties to the same handful of guys that are like the main buyers in the market. You have a relationship with a great big volume fix and flipper, and you were a really good wholesaler, and you know that they're loving a certain zip code or certain 5 zip codes and a certain kind of product. Anytime you get that product, you just have an automatic sale, right? So the challenge is getting the deal. The exit is usually not so hard because you just simply pass it on to the same fix and flipper. In land, it's almost the exact opposite. There's millions of pieces of land that the sellers no longer want. There's very few people reaching out to them. The competition is very low. There's not no competition, but there's lower competition. So outside of the infill lots, which are obviously the clear path there, what we typically do, the buyer of these lots is a one-time end buyer. So that's completely different than the housing. You're selling a piece of land in the path of growth, let's say a 2-acre lot on a paved road with all utilities. The typical buyer is one of 2 people. Either somebody that works from home and which now a third of Americans do, more than a third actually, 38% currently, but it's probably going to settle to about a third. A third is 50 million people in the US work from home. So the typical buyer is somebody that either works from home and basically says, I'm working from home. Why do I live in a cookie cutter neighborhood with an HOA, and if I leave the garbage out for an extra day, I get a nasty letter? Like, why can't I have chickens in my backyard? Why can't I have lemon trees in my front yard? Why can't I, because of all these kind of HOA restrictions, why can't I have 5 acres or 2 acres and actually enjoy a bigger backyard and so on? You can't often do that in an HOA-dominated area. So they're like, guess what? Let me move 20 minutes outside of town, have my own 2 to 5 acres, have chickens and, I don't know, horse or something like that. And then when I do need to go into town, it's only a 20, 30-minute drive. So those buyers typically are white-collar workers. They make money. They have that need for space, and they're ready to buy these properties. But it's a completely different buyer than the houses that as a wholesaler you sell to a fix and flipper. But the second kind of buyer for that property is a future retiree. They particularly love, it's a sad statistic in the US, but 70% of all people over the age of 50 don't have enough money saved up to survive even a single medical emergency or big car breakdown or something like that. And so as a result, how in the world are they going to retire in the city when the rents are at $2,000 and Social Security is at $1,600? They just can't. So a lot of them are looking to buy something outside of town that they can pay off over time. So again, the seller financing, we allow them to give us a down payment and pay it off down the road. And ideally, the down payment is equal to more than what we actually have the property under contract for. So we can do these deals without using our own money. And then when they paid it off, they put a mobile home on there, a used mobile home perhaps even, and they have a dignified retirement. With that said, when we sell those properties, we go after those kind of buyers. And the way we sell them is you can hire a realtor. That's totally fine. There's some really good realtors out there. We also use social media. We go on Facebook Marketplace. We put the listings on Zillow. We put the listings on landwatch.com. But it's a little bit more of a grassroots effort on the selling side, unless you hire a realtor. If you find the Michael Jordan of realtors in that market, it's hands off. You simply go give it to the realtor. But the main understanding is that you're not selling it to a volume buyer. Every property is being sold to one person. And that person, once they have that lot, they're done. They don't need a second piece of land. They're happy. That's from a foundational and fundamental difference to the land flip, to the house flipper. So how we sell them, we usually, again, we put them on places like Facebook Marketplace, Facebook groups, website landwatch.com is over 10 million visitors a month. And all they have on their website is land. So you can pay for an ad or for a listing in their properties. You can put it on Zillow. You can sell it to the neighbors. You can build up a buyer's list. And all these are good strategies. And currently, increasingly the best, though, is actually just simply hire a realtor and have the realtor sell it for you. So a lot of these are hands-off, though, and a lot of these also can easily, even the ones like when you actively put it somewhere, you can just simply hire a virtual assistant to do it for you and then field those calls, and then only once they're like fielded, you do the closing with them. Or you bring in a realtor for that. The realtor, give them a commission. The realtors are happy to work for that.
Fair enough. That's cool. Thank you, Jack. I learned a lot about land investing. I'm curious, switching gears a little bit. You're the weird guy in the sense that you're a land investor, but probably 99% of the people listening to this podcast, you're an entrepreneur. And I definitely know some people that respect you from the standpoint of how you think about wealth and building value as an entrepreneur. How would you summarize how you view that you feel is different than the average entrepreneur?
Most people, and even entrepreneurs, have been brainwashed, in my opinion, and I'm getting a little bit outside of the real estate world. The real estate world is a little bit better in that, but they've been brainwashed into what I call the pile of money theory. And the pile of money theory is basically make a lot of money, which is totally fine. I'm in favor of that. But then take 10% of your money, put it into some kind of a mutual fund managed by Charles Schwab, and then hope that by the time you have retired, you have a pile of money that's big enough that you take your social security number, social security, and your 401k and all the stuff, and that's all the pile of money, and withdraw 3% a year and never run out of money, or hopefully your money lasts until or beyond your passing. That works, but many times it doesn't, because first of all, most people don't have enough money saved up because it's left up to them, and they have emergencies, and the kids need to go to college, and they borrow from this and borrow from that, and all of a sudden in their 50s and they have nothing to show for. The second way, though, is the second reason why it sometimes doesn't work, and I've seen that, and particularly in 2008-9, when the big recession happened, that I know plenty of people that were just in their mid-50s, early 60s, and they were about to retire when all of a sudden their portfolio was cut down by 40%. And they're like, I had enough money to retire and pull out 3%, but now if I pull out 3% off half the money, I'm going to burn to that money in no time. So in other words, the pile of money only works until the money disappears. Like until they give it to Bernie Madoff and Madoff until they give it to Enron, until they give it into, they get convinced to invest it in some kind of a stock, and that stock goes to nothing and things like that. So I have a completely different view on that. And my view has been driven in a way by watching. I'm from Germany. I'm from southern Germany. And in my little hometown there's 2 miles over or 3 miles over, there's a tiny little town. And in that tiny little town across the lake, there's a baron, an actual aristocracy. There's still aristocracy exists in Germany. They have no more political power. But guess what they are? They are the true proverbial landlords. They're the lords of the land. They own the land. They own a lot of land. So in this little village, there's the Baron von Bateman, Graf von Bateman, it's his name, Baron von Bateman. And his son went to school with me, I think a year older or so, in the same school that I went for a while. And what I see them doing is they're basically, what they have done, they're basically managing income generating assets and living off the fruit of that income. And the fruit of that income then allows them to invest into more income generating assets and to increase their lifestyle even further. And nobody teaches you that. Everyone teaches you very simply, make a bunch of money, put 10% aside and so on. And I know the real estate world is a little bit different. So the first strategy we developed is the strategy of, you got to have a cash machine. You got to have something, because I'm not an aristocrat. My dad's a middle school teacher. My mom's a stay-at-home mom. I grew up with not much, not poor, but with not much either. And so I don't have all this land. I'm not the landlord. So how can I become the landlord? Coincidentally, I got into land flipping, but that has nothing to do with it. The point is, the way to retire wealthy, the way to build the generational wealth is twofold. There's two strategies I want to perhaps share. The first one is that it's a process where the step number one, you got to find out the way to make a ton of money. Increase your ability to generate income. Now, if you're a medical doctor, surgeon, have whatever, big practice and put in $1 million a year, you're good, right? You got that. If you don't, you got to find a way to make extra money. Step number two, you got to keep your expenses where they are. Don't stupidly increase your expenses and start using all the money, because that's the next mistake everyone does. They're like, as money goes up, the house goes up, the car goes up, the number of cars goes up, the vacation goes up, they take private jet drives and things, and soon enough, they have nothing to show for it. They live this lifestyle, but the expenses are here, and they're in the exact same position that they were before. Just now it's even more stressful because they're in a bigger hamster wheel, having to run even at a higher level to just maintain their higher cost lifestyle. So keep those expenses way down. Continue to live. Like my wife and I, we were multi-millionaires already, and we continue to live in our 1,900 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath starter home that we bought for $151,000. Way beyond when we could have upgraded. We continue to drive our Geo Prism and our Honda Accord, and then only when I crashed a $3,000 car, because I was reading the newspaper and eating a burger and watching my phone all at the same time, and then just rear-ended somebody with 5 miles an hour and nothing happens, but the car was totaled. That's when we bought a BMW, but even there, a used BMW. A nice BMW X5, used, the biggest car, the nicest car we ever had up to that point. And we still lived in our same house, $151,000 home. And then only once we reached a certain standard, that's when we upgraded to a 7-figure home. But the point is, step two, keep your expenses low so that you can actually have excess capital. And then number three, move that excess capital into cash flowing assets, whatever that may be. It doesn't even have to be real estate. It can be dividend stock, can be whatever he names it. But move it into cash flowing assets and then build that and then keep repeating that, like breaking like forever until you reached, and that's the second concept that I want to share, until you reach the level that you now can upgrade from, or then allows you to upgrade. And that concept is, we talk about a concept called the security plan, comfort plan, and luxury plan. Can I quickly share how that works?
Please.
So the first concept you've heard probably before, create a cash machine, roll it over into assets. But the second one is one that I think has been extremely valuable to us and to many people who have shared it with, because if you just keep rolling money over, when do you know when enough is enough? Like, when do you know to stop? When do you know that you actually have made it? When do you know that you have hit certain thresholds and you can actually take the foot off the gas or upgrade your lifestyle? So that's where the security, comfort, and luxury plan comes in. Michelle and I said one time, and I didn't invent that. I read that somewhere. I can't find it anymore. If somebody knows where I found it, please let me know, because I don't want to take wrong credit here. But the plan is very simple. Grab a piece of paper, and on a piece of paper, put 3 sections. Write down security plan. Basically, answer the following question: how much money a month do you need to live a very basic but okay lifestyle? Like the lifestyle that most of America lives, like a normal house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, normal like a starter home in a good neighborhood, in a decent neighborhood. what car? One car, not a Mercedes, not a BMW, like I'm talking about a Toyota. One vacation a year that you drive somewhere. Like you're not going crazy thing. Like you grocery shopping, you eat out a couple times a month. You don't, just a basic but solid lifestyle. How much does it cost? I asked a bunch of people, and most people say $5,000-$6,000 is probably what it would take to live that lifestyle. Okay. Second, then do the same thing like with a comfort plan. So now, what would your lifestyle look like if you would be living really comfortable? Now let's talk about 2,500 square foot home or 3,000 square foot home, 2 cars, one of them perhaps a Mercedes. In the security plan, your kids were going to public school. In the comfort plan, perhaps the kids are still going to public school, but now in the best school, in a much better school district. So the house is a higher end house. Again, what you take 2 weeks vacation, you fly there perhaps, but it's not first class. You're sitting wood class, as I call it, in the back of the plane, and et cetera, and not to the Four Seasons, but to the Marriott, and so on. How does life look like that, and so on, and what does that cost? Most people say about $10,000 a month or so, like net. I think that's what I can live with. Okay, perfect. And then the third one is your luxury plan. Luxury plan is like, put all your freaking wishes in there. What do you want? Like, you're living in the mansion, you're driving a Mercedes, you're driving a Ferrari, you're flying private, whatever rocks your boat. How much does that cost? I don't know. And to be honest, I've never really I've a hard time meeting people that can spend more than $30,000, $40,000 a month on their lifestyle. Perhaps $50,000 if you live really crazy, right? Okay, so now that means what you have 3 goalposts. You have 3 finish points. And what you do now is you apply what I said earlier. You make money, you roll it over into investments, and you monitor very closely how much passive or ongoing income have I created over time. And these 3 plans are in your drawer. And as you hit $6,000, $7,000 or $5,000, $6,000 a month, you stop, you open a bottle of champagne, you celebrate, because you know now that if put comes to shove, if you get a stroke, if you get a heart attack, if you have to completely stop and change your life 180 degrees, you can implement that plan like this tomorrow, and you never have to worry about your financial security ever again. But it doesn't mean you stop there. If you're young, you're energetic, it doesn't mean, wait, no, you don't even, the plan is in the drawer, the pieces of it are in place, but it doesn't mean you stop there. You keep going. And then you hit the next threshold and you stop. Perhaps you go on a weekend vacation, you celebrate, you open a bottle of even better champagne, or if you don't drink, whatever you like to do, and you celebrate that, and you really go, oh my God, we made it now. If put comes to shove, if you want to stop right now, we hate what we're doing, the life thing, if we get ill or something like that, we can live in a 2,500 or 3,000 square foot house. Perhaps that's what you already live in. And by the way, at that point, you upgrade to that level. You buy that house because you can now afford it. And you can afford to pay for it. And you can afford to buy the Mercedes. And you can afford for 2-3 vacations a year. And you can afford your kids going to the top schools in the big top public schools. And everything looks beautiful. But again, that doesn't mean that you have to stop there. All it means is that plan is implemented, that plan is in place, and then you go from there. And then from that point of view, it's like you check off the list. If you want the Ferrari, if you want the mansion, if you want the second home in Hawaii, and you want these things, and as that is implemented, at that point of time, you ask yourself the question, okay, am I done now? Or is it just so much fun I want to continue? Or what am I doing for? Or you just ask, some other questions are going to come up, but still doesn't mean you need to end, but now you know that you're in overtime now. You're in bonus territory, because anything beyond that is just pure, eternal, generational wealth that you're building, money that you won't ever need, and things and so on and so forth. That's the model that we have put together. About 2008, we sat down. We had already done a ton of land deals, built a lot of income, but we didn't know where it was going. We had no compass. That's when we sat down and we realized, oh my God, we've built all this stuff, but we don't have any what we call forever cash. no generational wealth. We have not put our money into something that is eternally there, and I love real estate for that, and that will spit out cash forever. And we literally, but by that time we had a business that was big enough that it took us 6 months to put the security plan in place. Within 6 months, we had bought enough assets for them to spit out that $5,000-6,000 a month. And we were like, oh my God, we just implemented a security plan. It took us a couple of years longer to then implement the comfort plan, at which point we upgraded into a beautiful home in a top school district. And didn't even have a daughter yet. No, actually we did, but she was 3 years old. And then since then, we've then moved into our dream home. And I got the Porsche 911 Turbo convertible in the garage, which is my dream car. And we just consistently, step by step, implemented our luxury, comfort, security, comfort, and luxury plan. And what it has done, it has given us these targets, these goals, these like finish lines. It's like, here's these milestones that you can go towards and that you have a reason to actually celebrate. Whereas most people just keep going and going, and they don't know if they're actually at the goal post, if they're finished already. They don't even know if they have enough assets. They've never looked at it. If I stop today and I reallocate my assets in a certain way, can I actually stop already? They've never done it. And what this exercise will do, it will allow you to actually do that and have a laser clear path forward to where you want to go.
Yeah, that's fascinating, Jack. I'm curious, along the way, is it that you like stay at the one lifestyle until you unlock the next and then you move to the next? Or is it like these are your defining points, but overall everything kind of moves together?
I'm always a fan of delayed gratification. So most people are the fan of instant gratification. I love delayed gratification. So I get joy out of seeing that my really big plan is coming together, and I'm getting joy out of staying where I am until I have all the things in place that I can do a big jump. So ours has been more like this, more like staying the same, then making a big jump, staying the same, then making a big jump. But, and I think it shouldn't be gradual, because the problem with gradual is that you keep eroding what you're building as you're building it, or at least a percentage of it. If you keep where you are while you're building it, you can take the optimal, the maximum amount of money and move it into what you want to do, and therefore accelerate the big jump. Versus if you take a part of the money always away to upgrade your lifestyle a little, I think it's going to take you actually eventually much longer to get to where you want to go.
Yeah, fair enough. That makes sense. I'm going to tell you what I do. You tell me if it's crazy. It's wild. I've done this since I started this company when I was a sophomore in college. And the philosophy was always like to make money, and then for that money to make money and to live off the money that money makes in a sustainable way, accounting for inflation, right? What I've done, my living expenses for the past 8 years, have been just 4% of whatever my invested capital is at any given moment. And that's what I put as the budget.
So your living expenses are 4% of your invested capital?
That's what the budget is. And then the living expenses, to your point, like I was looking at this the other day. I'm like, shoot, I'm like way under budget, because that just happens sometimes because you don't
beautiful.
always.
I mean, I think that totally works. It's probably challenging at the beginning, because if you have no investable assets, or if you have $10,000 to invest and your budget is 4% of that, so you're talking about $400. You can't live on $400.
Maybe you can't live on $400, Jack. But
that's right.
Actually, I misspoke. I did $40,000 plus 4% of invested capital. The assumption being I could always find a way to make 40 grand a year somehow.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And I think that's a beautiful way of looking at it. And assuming, and it's also going to drive you to produce, to have your income be applied in a way that it produces more than 4%. Because you don't want to just eat all the babies that your money makes, right?
Sure.
So if your money makes 4% in return, you don't want to just eat that all up, because then you're basically falling behind, because now you have $1 million and you're using 44%, it's $40,000 extra. Great. So now you're eating that up, and you still only have $1 million. And if you go to an inflationary period like we did in the last 4 years, your money now is worth much less. So ideally, you want your money to produce something like 14% or something, so that if you take 4 off, it still has 10% and it continues to grow at 10%. And I think that is very smart. And ideally, want to produce more than that anyway. But yeah, no, I like that. I like that. We, as said, we looked at it more. We just generated as much cash profits as possible, but kept living not at a percentage of it, but we basically just kept living at an entry level point where our mortgage was $1,100, our car payments were $300, and the other car was paid off, and where we basically tried to keep our expenses somewhere in the $2,500 to $3,000 a month range. Of course, we're talking 20 years ago, so today it's probably twice as much. And for a simple house, though, and just not let that grow almost at all, and just use all the money for investments. And then soon enough, we're like, whoa, our investment's now paying us 10 grand a month. Okay, we can now afford to upgrade our lifestyle to $7,000 or $8,000 a month and keep going, because the expectation was that within a few more years, we have the passive income to $20,000 or $25,000 or $30,000. And at that level, you upgrade again. And beyond the level we then reach ultimately we have no desire to currently upgrade it any further, because anything else beyond that is just silly. Our daughter's out of school in a year and a half, and we are alone in a 7,000 square foot home at that point.
Sure.
I don't need more house than that. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it's wild. I think some of the best advice I got with money, or the favorite advice that I've received, is spend half your money as if you're going to live forever and half your money as if you're going to die tomorrow, which was advice that I needed personally, because I would just save every penny forever and then die with a lot more money than you need to die with. So that's why that works for me, because what I do is I just say it's my job to spend the small percentage of the portfolio, and I can do that. And I understand that's that where that number comes from is conservative, and then now I can be aggressive within what's available from that number. I guess there's two kinds of people. There's the kind where no budget means they can spend unlimited, and there's the kind where no budget means I can't spend anything. Yeah. I'm the no budget means I can't spend anything guy, but I feel like I'm obviously two very different personalities. A lot of people go the other way too.
And I love that, because you actually, at the end of the day, it comes down to knowing yourself and knowing which one of the two you are. If you're no budget means you got to spend everything, is that you got to put a budget on there, because otherwise you're never going to make any progress. And in your case, you got to put a budget on there to actually force you to enjoy life a little bit, almost. Not that you don't enjoy life, but enjoy life financially. Go spend on some of these things. And I love that. I think for us, I think we run a good middle of the road. So we love going out for dinners, for example, and we've never splurged. We never skimped on that. We were never cheap on that. And those are things we have enjoyed. So as we started making more and more money, we started getting a cleaning crew to come clean our house. But that actually makes us money, because instead of us spending hours cleaning the house, we were able to use that time to actually do a few more land deals and make extra money. So that was actually a profit thing. But going out for dinner, and we have certain allocated budget per year to go travel around the world, and that's not a cheap budget, but that has increased over time. And we have certain budgets for, obviously, to give back to community, for charity and things like that. And we try to hit those, because it's easy to forget about that otherwise. But it's also good to make sure that don't go overboard, or don't go become all of a sudden cheap and not spend on the things that really matter. So it makes total sense. I think we're in the middle. We don't do much budgeting, but I think every once in a while we look at our sisters like, yeah, that's okay. Or, man, that's crazy. Let's cut back on that a little bit. And
yeah, fair enough. Thank you, Jack, for your time today and for sharing so much so openly. For anybody who's interested in connecting with you or with your company, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
So the easiest way is, if you want to know about how to do land deals from home without tenants, and termites and so on, and a simpler way than house flipping, then you can simply go to fun, like having fun, F-U-N, like landprofitfund.com, and you'll find you can download a free 30-day blueprint there that actually is a step-by-step guide how to set up your own land business in the next 30 days. It's 100% for free, no strings attached. And that's number one. And in that, I have my own podcast too. It's the Jack Bosch Show, where we talk about also not just real estate, but entrepreneurship, finance, and so on. That's why it's not a specific kind of real estate name, simply named after me, because I can choose what I want to talk about. And I'm all over social media too. But the easiest way to actually get a proper blueprint is by going to fun.com.
All right. Thank you, Jack. I appreciate you being generous with your time. And for anybody else listening, I'll see you next week.